There are so many guns in Steel Hunter to choose from. To be more specific, there are 24 guns available, but not every gun is created equal. Some of them are better than others, and using the right gun can already create an advantage or make the tank much more fun to play. Today we are going to be taking a look at all the guns in Steel Hunter for tier 7, all the tier 7 guns. And I created a tier list for you, and I will be taking a look at the worst guns first and work our way up to the best guns. Now, what's the worst gun in Steel Hunter? Well, it honestly depends. But this is my list, so this is my opinion. If you disagree, then that's completely fine. Write it down in the comments and let me know what do you think. Now let's start with the Beowulf reload speed gun. I ranked it as the absolute worst gun out of all the guns. Now, you might notice that there are 26 guns. That's because I rated HE guns with shell type different. I treated HE guns with different shell types, different guns. But that's only like 2 extra. Bailang with AP and Arlequin with HE, gold HE. So that's the 2 extra guns. Now the Beowulf reload speed. Now you might think that these guns on the bottom cannot work. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that compared to the other guns, these are much worse. What's the biggest issue with Beowulf reload speed gun? Biggest issue is, of course, the lack of burst damage as a trend. The bottom 5 guns have basically no burst damage at all, which is a big disadvantage in my opinion. Now, at least some guns in the bottom 5 have some DPM, but the bottom 3 don't. And that includes Beowulf reload speed gun. It has very bad DPM, not the worst, but still very bad DPM. Versatility. Now what versatility means is how good a gun can adapt to most of the situations. Basically, most of the situations you need burst damage. And if you don't have burst damage, then the versatility score is gonna be low, of course. But the other problem that I have with this gun is the bad gun handling. That's right, you get terrible DPM, no burst damage, and terrible gun handling. Which I think sets it apart from the Variag's reload speed gun, which at least has better gun handling. And much better DPM not much better, but better DPM. Now, both guns are extremely boring to play in my opinion. However, the Variag gun at least is much easier to play, unlike this gun. This gun is absolutely terrible. It really needs some DPM buff, because right now there is just no reason to use it, especially if you see the other guns. The Beowulf high alpha outholder and lower alpha outholder are much higher in the list, and you should pick either one of these. You should never pick this gun. It's basically the worst of the worst in my opinion. And like, it's not even that much easier to play because of the gun handling. So yeah, you should avoid this gun. Next gun, Variag's reload speed gun. This is just slightly better because of the gun handling. Everything else is the same basically, even the alpha damage. So it's a tiny bit better, but I cannot recommend it at all. It's really boring as well. There's just no reason to play it, honestly. And but at least it's, I think, the easiest gun to play. That's the only advantages it has. Of course, difficulty is very subjective. You can find some of the guns that I listed hard, actually easy to play, but that's completely on you. I think it's very easy to play. Valkyr reload speed gun. the alpha damage really saves this gun from being bottom one, like bottom tier, but it's still bad. The 480 alpha damage, I think 480, really saves the gun and makes it a bit more fun than the other guns. And I think that saves the gun, but it's not much better. It's the same issue, you have quite long reload time, no burst damage really, and it just doesn't really work. But as same with the Variag, it's really easy to play, so that's an advantage, I guess. And yeah, if you're new, I can recommend this gun, but if you get bored, which I think you will get bored eventually, you can just use another gun for Valkyrie. Even the alpha damage gun is better, although heavy tanks don't have the best guns, and there are other fun things other than the gun about the tank. So the top guns doesn't mean they are the most fun. Harbinger at the top isn't that much fun compared to like these guns. Like there are guns that have, I think, more fun to play than the Harbinger, which is the top one, but I will talk about it later. Let's continue with Bailang reload speed gun. This is, I think, the worst non-heavy tank gun. There is literally no unique things about this gun. It has average alpha, it has perfectly average DPM, it has nothing special. It's quite boring, but it's slightly more fun than the heavy tank guns because at least you can hit your shots. And it's a bit harder to play, but it's still pretty easy to play. So yeah, it's a very average gun. I really don't think it's that special though, so if you can, just avoid it. Use the HE gun or the magazine gun. Huragan reload speed gun. Well, this is only 22nd place, but I think using this gun is the biggest crime you can do in Steel Hunter. Because if you look at the top of the list, the other guns are top 3. At least in my opinion. But, like, it's really hard to justify using this gun. The abilities don't really work with it. The gun itself is not that good. Like, it doesn't have that much better DPM to compensate for the lack of burst damage. It's pretty boring. So that's the biggest issue in my opinion. Like, okay, it's easy to play, but there are better tanks that are easier to play and give you more value. Using this gun is just, it's just not worth it in almost any circumstance. But here comes Bailang with HE. This is also like, just don't. Like, see these ones here, versatility, difficulty? Just don't even try using HE with Bailang. It's not gonna work. Even for me, it almost never works. Like, I just have to sacrifice so much and just have to get so lucky in order to like pen. Not to kill enemies, just to pen them. Sure, you get very good insane DPM, but you can the actual DPM is much lower. It's even lower than with AP, I think, in most of the time. Burst damage is like 800 damage per shot is pretty good, but you're never gonna get that. Honestly, you're just never gonna get that. And the fun, you might think that the fun rating should be more, because if you pen, that's really fun, but you just never pen. That's the issue. And so it's not fun. If you could pen just a bit more, if this gun had like more pen, the fun rating would be much higher. The difficulty and versatility will still be 1, in my opinion, but at least you would have more fun. But right now this gun is like even worse sometimes than the reload speed gun. I think the reload speed gun is more consistent, but this gun, in a very, very specific situation can work. I don't think the HE gun with HE is better than the reload speed gun, but of course this is a tier list, so you have to decide. And of course the DPM really bumps up this gun. If it had like terrible DPM, this would have been bottom tier gun. Let's move on to the alpha damage guns, Varyag and Valkyr. Now, these guns have very long reloads, and that really holds them back. And of course DPM, but like, I mean, DPM isn't that big of an issue because you have insane alpha damage compared to the other guns. The reload speed really holds them back from being good. They are not too easy to play, but like also not too hard to play. But yeah, they can be fun as well, but I don't see them being too good. They can work sometimes. They can be funny sometimes, but that's it. They are nothing more than a big punchy gun. However, Valkyr autoloader. First autoloader on our list, which means that it's the worst autoloader on our list. It has okay intra clip, good clip damage, so the burst damage is good, but like it's not that overpowered like on the other compared to the other guns. And the DPM is also very bad, and like the gun handling is still not good. It's still the same as the Valkyr reload speed gun, but has less alpha, and it's also not that easy to play, which makes its score pretty low, even though it has good burst damage. I mean, maybe we could argue that the burst damage should be like 8 because the clip damage is good, but I just don't find it that bursty, you know, compared to the other guns. So I think 7 is a good number, a good rating for burst damage. So yeah, it's like worst autoloader, still better than single shot guns. 17th place is Bailang's HE gun with AP. Now, I 100% agree that this is much better than the with HE, because sure, you get less burst damage and less DPM, but you can actually pen your shots. So it's actually better. Like, it can work. It's not the most versatile gun because of the terrible gun handling, so you need to be close or aim for a very long time. And it's also pretty slow, the shells, so yeah, you need to be really careful with your aim. And so because of this, it's not that easy to play, but it's much better than the HE gun. And it can be really fun because you have big alpha and a pretty big gun, so that's quite fun. Personally, I hate Bailang. I don't like playing with Bailang, but the HE gun with AP is like pretty good. But most people will say the HE gun is better than the burst autoloader. However, I don't think that's the case. I think autoloader is better because it has more consistent damage. You don't need to be too very close. You also get better burst damage, which is, I think, very important. So that's why I think the burst autoloader is better. I can see the HE gun work, but I don't think it's better than the autoloader. However, as I said before, if you disagree, let me know in the comments. What do you think? So yeah, it's much more fun, of course, the HE gun with AP, because you can pen your shots. But I already said that. Why am I saying it again? I don't know. Okay, let's move on. Raven alpha damage gun. Burst damage is basically non-existent. DPM is surprisingly pretty bad. And it's not that versatile because of a bit worse gun handling compared to other Raven guns. It's pretty easy to play though, so I mean, if you're new to the game, I can recommend both Raven guns. As you can see, the 15th place is also a Raven gun. and I think they can be funny sometimes, but they are less fun than the Bailang HE gun. So they don't get too high scores, it's like slightly below average, these guns. If they had just a bit better DPM, I think it would be pretty good, or like average good. Yeah. Let's move on with Harlequin Gold HE. Now, normal HE is much higher in this list, however, as you can see, there is one big difference, is the fun. Now, why is that? You get worse burst damage and worse DPM. Why would you have more fun in this gun than the other gun? Well, here's a small thing. With the normal HE, you have 60 pen, which cannot really pen anything basically, unless it's a light tank or you are shooting from the rear or sides. However, this gun can pen the turrets, the back of the turrets of some heavy tanks, which means that you can damage their ammo rack, and you have 3 shots in the clip. So if you go behind someone and aim at their turret back, you can like 99% ammo rack them, which is of course really fun, but it's really hard to play. So, and the DPM is also not that good, but if you pull that off, it can be a really clutch play and also really fun way to play this gun. Burst damage is still good, of course not as good as with normal HE, but the ammo racking factor just makes this thing, makes this gun so much fun. And I think that's the only, like, if it cannot ammo rack anyone, this gun would have been like much worse. But yeah, it can, so it's pretty average compared to the other guns, and pretty hard to play, but very fun when you play it right. Let's move on with Harbinger Alpha Damage gun. Now this is the first Harbinger gun, and Harbinger is very famous for having really good guns, and I think my list reflects that very well. However, I don't think this gun is that good. It doesn't really have good burst damage, the reload time is pretty long, DPM is also not good, which Harbinger has really good DPM. I think this gun needs more DPM, to be honest. Versatility is like, the gun handling really holds it back from being too versatile. It's pretty funny because it has a good gun sound and pretty good alpha damage, and it's not that hard to play, so it's a really average gun, in my opinion. It's a good starter gun, but Harbinger, you should play Raven. Like, if you are new to Steel Hunter, you should play Raven. It has easier guns to play with, and can give you much more consistent value than the Harbinger, which is hard to play. Okay, not that hard to play, but it's a bit harder to play. And Harbinger really relies on its gun. And Raven doesn't, because Raven has other abilities that lets you escape from tricky situations. Harbinger doesn't. It just has a smoke that is very terrible, in my opinion. Like, it's the worst ability in Steel Hunter, so it doesn't really work most of the time. And you have the Berserker, which enhances the gun. So if you cannot make the gun work, you're dead. Unlike with the Raven, you can just put a trap and run away or something. So yeah, that's my opinion. Let's move on to Variag Double Gun. Now, as you can see, it has very bad DPM. Like, even worse than other heavy tank guns. However, it's still good because you have burst damage. But you can also go into single shot mode, which means you get a okay reload speed. So you can really adapt to most of the situations. Like, if you cannot double, you can just fire like in a single shotgun, which is, I think, really good. Really makes this gun really versatile. And I think it's pretty hard to play. compared to other heavy tank guns, but I think it's really, really fun when you like double someone. It's really fun. That you just deal so much damage. So it's really the burst damage combined with the double gun mechanic makes save this gun from being bad. Like it's actually really good for a heavy tank gun, of course. Now, okay, I'm gonna correct myself. This is not the best heavy tank gun at all. I just best gun that isn't whatever. The best gun for Variag, at least. I can say that. Best gun for Variag. It's not the best heavy tank gun. Just forget it, okay? Buy Langburst autoloader gun. Now, as I said before, I think it's better than the HE gun, and some people might disagree, but I think it just gives you more consistent value from longer ranges when you cannot get too close to the enemies, and also it lets you track your opponents, and if they repair it, you can just fire your acid like 1 second later. You don't have to wait 8 seconds. And of course, tracking with the HE gun, it doesn't really work. Like if you're aiming for the tracks, you're just gonna lose so much damage. It just doesn't work. But with this gun, it can work. You just have to hit your shots. It's a bit harder to play because of the burst mechanic than the HE gun, but I think it's better. It's also kind of fun when you fully clip someone, but yeah, the DPM is average. Versatility is not that good because like the burst mechanic can be annoying sometimes. So basically, if you don't know what this burst mechanic is, it's just basically you click once and your tank shoots twice, and you can do this 4 times. So yeah, that's mechanic basically. So yeah, if like you have to like aim for the duration of the burst. You cannot just like shoot and then aim away because you're gonna shoot a second shot. So yeah. Now a similar gun to this is the Harlequin anti-tank machine gun. They have the same burst damage, but the Harlequin doesn't have the burst mechanic, which makes it a bit more versatile. However, no, it doesn't make it more versatile. On paper it should make it more versatile, but you just have to hit 10 shots. Hitting 10 shots in a row is kinda hard sometimes. So it's actually really, I think that makes the gun harder to play. So you don't have the burst mechanic, which makes it easier to play, but you have 10 shots that you have to like 10 shots in a row to make maximum value. So it kind of balances out, so they are, I think difficulty wise they are kind of the same. However, I think the anti-tank machine gun is much more fun because shooting like every half a second is very fun. It's not necessarily the gun's performance, it's just the gun sound. Like it just shoots 10 times in like 4.5 seconds. It's just really funny. So yeah, I think the fun rating really makes this gun pretty high up on this list. But yeah, let's move on to Beowulf High Alpha Autoloader. As you can see, you get insane burst damage. You literally do 1700 damage in like 7.5 seconds, which is just insane. You get bad DPM, which is understandable, you're a heavy tank. I don't think it's that big of a issue with this gun. However, the big issue with this gun is the gun handling. And as that, the versatility score really reflects that. The gun handling is absolutely terrible. Still, in close ranges, it's really good, but longer ranges, you're almost never gonna hit anything unless you are stationary, and that makes this gun pretty hard to play because you have to like balance out aiming and moving. Like it's pretty hard in my opinion. And fun factor, it can be fun. It has big alpha damage, with very good burst damage, so I think it's pretty fun. I think it's not, it's a bit worse than the other gun, the lower alpha outloader, but it can be good in the right situation. Let's move on to the Harlequin's HE gun with normal HE. Now you get insane burst damage, 1800 in just like 3 seconds, or yeah, 3 seconds. That's even better than this gun. You get insane DPM, like 7000 DPM, I think. However, versatility, it's not necessarily gun handling. The gun handling is actually okay in my opinion. The penetration really holds this gun back, and difficulty is also like extremely hard to play because of the pen. Not only you have really bad pen, you also have to work with the old HE mechanic, which means you have to avoid spaced armor at all costs, because otherwise you won't pen. So it's really not beginner friendly. It's only if you're really confident in yourself you should use this gun, but otherwise it's not gonna work with normal HE. I mean, yeah, you can splash people, can work, but what's the fun in that? It's not just auto-aim and splashing, it's not that fun. But if you pen your shots, it's really fun. It's not as fun as the gold HE because you cannot ammo rack people, and also it's much harder to pen your shots, but it can be still fun. So that's pretty good. Harlequin double gun. Burst damage is excellent. Once dealing 1000 damage, 960 damage in just 1 second is insane. Sure, you get absolutely horrendous DPM, but it doesn't matter. You're really accurate. You have basically no bloom. Your gun handling is awesome. Your shell velocity is also really good. You basically hit your shots every time, so the DPM doesn't really hold it really back. It's a bit easier to play than the other guns, but it's still pretty hard to play because of course it's an Harlequin. And it's really fun when you like double someone in just 1 second. Like the 1 second charge time really helps this gun not be terrible. If it had like 2 second charge time, it would be absolutely terrible, I think. Or at least average. So yeah, this gun is pretty good, and it's the most competitive gun for Harlequin, and that's why you only like see this on tournaments and stuff, because it gives you consistent damage unlike the HE gun, and insane burst damage. You just only have to charge for 1 second. That's basically nothing. But let's talk about the Beowulf Lower Alpha Autoloader. This gun has slightly better gun handling, but still terrible gun handling. Of course, you still keep the insane burst damage you have from the other gun, and you have basically the same DPM, but as I said, it's not that big of a deal. You got insane burst damage, you should work around your DPM, like work with the burst damage and not with your DPM. It's pretty versatile. You got 4 shells in the clip instead of 3, so you have a bit more room for error. It's also hard to play compared to all the other heavy tank guns because of the deep gun handling, but it's a bit better. However, it's not as fun as the other gun because, at least in my opinion, it's not as fun. You got less alpha damage, and the gun handling is still the same, so it just makes it a bit less fun. But yeah, the gun itself is pretty solid. I think it's really good in most situations. Harbinger reload speed gun. Now this is the best single shot gun in the game. Why? Well, because of the DPM. This is how they should balance reload speed. Of course, I'm not saying that every single shotgun should have insane DPM. I'm just saying that it should have better DPM than the other guns. Like, if we take a look at the reload speed guns, they have absolutely terrible DPM. But why? Why would you choose these guns if you don't even get better DPM? Like, of course there might be some people who say that, yeah, these are easy to play and there should be a choice, but okay, but at least buff the DPM so they are not terrible. So if people who don't like these autoloader and all other funky mechanics just want to play a normal gun, why can't they have the same, roughly the same power level as the autoloader guns and the other burst damage guns? So this gun is actually, I think it's pretty balanced actually, even though it has insane DPM, like absolutely insane DPM. I think this gun is actually pretty balanced. It doesn't really have good burst damage. I gave it a 4 because of the reload speed, not because of the alpha damage, because you got really quick reload speed. It can work in some situations, but if you really need burst damage, it's not the best choice. And but at least it's easy to play, and the fun, it can be fun if you like, I don't know, use Berserker and like fully destroy an enemy, or just continuously shoot for like, I don't know, a minute and you do insane damage. It can be fun then, but when you need burst damage, which is most of the situations, it's not that fun. So yeah, that's my opinion about this gun. It's pretty good, but mostly because of the stats, I don't think this gun is that overpowered. It's a solid gun, but not the best. Raven autoloader gun. Now, this gun with the fast clipping is really good. The clip damage is like okay, so that's why it's not a 10. If it did a bit more damage, it would have been 10. But 9 is still pretty respectable. The DPM is pretty bad, which is understandable. You should work around your DPM instead of like using this as a DPM gun. Versatility, it's okay. It can work in most situations, but the DPM can be frustrating sometimes when you need it. However, as always with the Raven, you can use the ability that makes your tank like 20% better, the target tracking, so you get better reload speed. Like you clip out and you use the ability and you get better reload speed. It's a bit hard to play, but it's not that, compared to other autoloader guns, it's not that hard to play, to be honest. And it can be really fun when you fully clip out someone. So yeah, it's a solid gun. It's the best gun for Raven, of course, because you get insane burst damage. So yeah, Huragan. Yeah, 2 Huragan guns. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you, the higher alpha autoloader might not be this strong. I didn't really play it on EU. I only played it on RU, where it's really good. Like, extremely good on RU. So, I'm just assuming that it has a bit worse stats, but not much. Like, it's basically the same, but with less damage per shot. So, I'm just assuming that this gun is good from my experience on the RU server. Because on the RU server I can consistently do like 20,000 damage per game with this gun. It's that good, so I'm just assuming that this gun is also good on the EU. However, I might be wrong, so this is the gun that I didn't really play, but it seems to have good stats. Like the burst damage is of course really good, as a Huragan should have good burst damage. DPM is alright, it's actually not that bad, even though you have insane burst damage. Versatility, I mean, you got pretty good alpha damage, so that you can track, perma-track someone very easily. which the other gun can struggle sometimes. It's a bit easier to play than the other gun, but still hard to play in my opinion, and the fun rating comes from the gun sound. The gun sound is just so peak. I think this is the best gun sound in Steel Hunter. Like if you play it and just like shoot, it's already so much fun. However, enough talking about this gun. Let's move on to the other gun. I think it's still better. You get insane burst damage, bit better DPM. Like it's pretty versatile. You have so many shots, and you can fully clip out with the abilities basically any tank you want. It's really fun to play. You have so many shots. It's pretty hard to play though, but if you play it right, it's really fun, and it's a really good gun in my opinion. However, there is even better gun. The Harbinger auto reloader gun, which is absolutely not balanced. It's a retarded, overpowered gun. Now, why? I mean, you probably don't think that this gun is overpowered. You didn't really see it. However, you get good burst damage. You have 4 shots in the clip, which is okay, I guess. You get insane DPM. That's the problem, I think. In my opinion, that's the biggest problem. You get the second best DPM in the game. The second best DPM. With AP, of course, not with HG. Why? You have insane burst damage. You have auto reloader mechanic. And you also have insane DPM? That just doesn't work. You can shoot for 14 seconds straight. Oh, the ability ended. Oh no, what is gonna happen? Oh, you have a full clip ready for... So basically, if you use it in conjunction with Berserker and start with a full clip, the Berserker actually lasts for like 20 seconds, basically, until you like run out of shells and have to like reload, which is just retarded. Like, this gun really needs a nerf for the DPM. I have no problem with the burst damage. The burst damage is actually pretty balanced because 3-second intro clip is not that good. But the DPM is really the issue. For this DPM, this burst damage is really good. And of course this makes it basically good in any situation. Like I cannot really say a situation where this gun doesn't work. Like maybe against like, I don't know, quick guns like the Harlequin double gun where they can do 1000 damage in 1 second. Maybe the intro clip can hold you back, but other than that, it's just retarded. It shouldn't have this good DPM. And it's not that fun to play though, because the intro clip is kind of long and it still has the thing that you have to like shoot for quite a long period of time to get value. But like you get insane DPM that and insane burst damage that if someone gets close you can just fully clip them out and then you got insane DPM even though you fully clipped out. Like just it doesn't make sense. And the auto reloader mechanic makes this gun really easy to play and really versatile. So that's my full list. I hope it was informative and lets you pick guns easier with this new knowledge. Just don't forget, burst damage is king, DPM is secondary. So if you don't have burst damage, are probably in a disadvantage. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video and See you in the next video or on stream.